A woman who spent a lot of time here in Central Illinois has an amazing journey, a journey with God that she's sharing in a brand new book. It's a walk of faith that could help others in your community. She's back to talk about More Than Enough, author Melany Jackson. It's good to have you.
Author Melany Jackson.
How does that feel?
You're the first person that's ever said that to me.
Really? Yeah. Well, and undoubtedly awesome. Not the last, though, because you're actually touring and doing book signings and doing this amazing stuff. You were with See You at Home, and then in the time heading out of See You at Home, you wrote a book. Well, I'll ask you later about how you had time to do that, but how did this book come to be?
I met an author in the summer of 2015, Frank Viola, and he's written several books. Shared a bit of my story with him, and he just said, "Melany, I think you need to write this down." And so that's what really got me thinking about writing a book about the experience through See You at Home. And it took a couple years to settle into my heart and say, okay, it's time to start writing.
Yeah, that's amazing. You call this your God Bride book.
Yeah, it's really, I'm bragging on God and His provision, because that's what sustained me through See You at Home, through the beginning of the ministry, through very, very tough times, and He is just so faithful to provide time after time, even when I've messed up. And that's grace.
And that's one of the stories that you're trying to share.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about the organization of the book and what the book itself is about.
The book really takes you through the journey just before See You at Home started, all the way up until last fall when I transitioned to life in Colorado Springs. Yeah. So it's all of the elements of See You at Home, what was happening through that, where I was living, what my provision looked like, and for all of the resources needed for See You at Home.
Well, and you were such a warrior for that organization in this community, and I mean that in the best term, because I mean you were out there sharing the message and helping people to understand that people without homes are people first. And that is such a critical message.
It really is, and one of the things that I think is so incredible that See You at Home was able to do was to kind of change the language associated with homelessness in this community through media, through organizational leaders. I just don't ever hear anyone say that homeless person. Folks have started using a friend without an address, and that's sustaining change.
Yeah, well, and in part because that labels a person, and when people hear that you take that into your psychology, and so you spend most of this book, I mean, all of it is really the story of how God has touched your life. And so I don't want you to give away too much of the book, but if you would share a little bit with us about how you were blessed to not only realize this, but to share it with others.
Absolutely. You know, in the beginning of See You at Home, I didn't take a salary. I didn't want a salary at all. And one of the powerful provisions in the book was God providing for me financially without telling anyone about my need. For more than 2 years, it was 26 months. And God kept money in my bank account. It never went below $500 for 26 months with no method of income. It's just crazy how God was able to provide for me.
And in part because, as one of the folks that are writing about the book says, that you ventured out, you took chances, you were on thin ice in socially uncomfortable positions or socially looked down upon, working with people that are in those situations. I mean, that's faith. Right?
It is, and I really want to encourage folks who are seeing this to step out. If God's calling you to do something in an area where maybe you don't feel like you're educated, you don't have the information, you don't have the resources, none of that matters if God's behind it. He's going to equip you. He's going to bring the folks alongside you who already have some of the education, the firsthand experience. That's what He did for me, and He can do it for you.
Do we listen enough for God in our lives?
I think there's a lot of noise. Yeah. I think there's a lot of noise, and it's hard to tune in to the right frequency. And sometimes He interrupts us in such a way that we can't avoid it. But yeah.
Yeah, he's going to get his message across to you no matter what. And the other thing that I think is so special, not only about what you created with See You at Home, but I'm sure is in this book too, is the understanding that God equips us to be people with people. it's about our interactions,
Yes.
and it's sharing, because we can all share in this provision.
Absolutely. When we were able to launch the Phoenix Drop-In Center, that was the focus, was breaking down walls of assumption about what a person might be like and giving people an opportunity on equal footing to have some fun together, to get to know one another over time with no pressure, no agenda.
Yeah. Come in and have a cup of coffee, play a game of chess,
Yep.
talk. Yeah, people with people.
Yep.
I love that. All right, you've got a couple of book signing events I want to talk about too. So when and where do they start? Because you're all over right now.
Well, it's awesome. Friday, we're going to be at the Phoenix, which is awesome,
good.
from noon to 2, and we'd love for folks to come in there and see the headquarters for See You at Home on Green Street. Saturday, we've got 2 opportunities in the morning at Orphan's Treasure Box in Champaign. That's from 10 a.m. to noon. And then at Lincoln Square Mall at the Great News Radio Studios, and that'll be from 2 to 4.
Yeah, you can see their setup in there too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then you can get the book. If you can't go to one of these, you can get the book online.
That's right. There's a whole lot of information at morethanenoughthebook.com, information about the ministry, information about how to get in touch with me. You can order the book on paperback or Kindle.
And you can get that information online at CILiving.tv.